Is the recent Doctor Who episode The Well the middle part of a trilogy which we've already had the third part of in a Doctor Who wibbly wobbly timey wimey way? That was the basis of a headcanon theory that I saw on Twitter and I wanted to talk about. So I invited the person that posted that, my friend Josh Carr, who is the host of the podcast Who Knew, to talk about it. Welcome to the channel, Josh Carr, host of Who Knew podcast, host extraordinaire of New Who podcast, interviewer of The Chibnall, and yeah, deviser of this headcanon that we are now about to speak. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Culture Filter.
Hello.
I think it's
Well,
your first
thank you
time
for
on.
having me on. It is my first time on. Very exciting. Thank you for
Don't
having me,
have
Phil. I
enough
know
guests,
we've
that's
we've
the
known each other
problem.
for a long time, but um, yes, it's an honor to finally grace the channel. Especially for a silly little headcanon that
Yeah,
I
I loved it. I
together.
just thought this is what I love, these wild theories and things like that,
Yeah,
and headcanons. You know, you can accept them, you
yeah.
can dismiss them, you can just think they're a bit of fun. It doesn't really matter. You can have your own completely different headcanon, but I think it's just fun to theorize.
Oh yeah, that's half the fun, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun to theorize until you put it on Twitter, and then everyone goes, "Well, actually." I'm not sure that quite works because in this episode, somebody said this. I'm like, I know, I don't care. I'm
Yes.
just having
However,
fun.
for the sake of engagement on YouTube video, please do however us and actually us down below, because then
Yes.
it'll
Oh,
increase the engagement of the
obviously.
YouTube. So please
Do
feel free
apologize,
to
Philip. Oh, I
actually
didn't have my
us.
YouTube grind set head on there. G- Argue as much as you want with me below
Yeah,
this because I won't read
fine.
them. It's
So
fine.
take us through this theory of yours.
Obviously, has been revealed, spoiler alert, to be a sequel to Midnight.
Mm.
I know a lot of people were saying, is this leading into a trilogy? Are we going to get a third part?
Well, there
And
was the
my theory
tease at
is,
the end there.
yeah, there's the tease at the end. My theory is we've already had the third part. We've had a trilogy out of order, sort of Star Wars style. And the trilogy is actually Midnight first, then The Well, then Wild Blue Yonder.
That is so Doctor Who to do a trilogy out of order
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Now, look, I'm not claiming that this is purposeful. The likelihood is that this is utter nonsense. But I have headcanoned this because I think it works. Like, because obviously you've got the bit at the end of the well where it shows that obviously there's three people in the airlock. You've got the two guard people and Alice are in the airlock, but the screen next to it shows that there's four life forms in there. So the assumption is the Midnight entity is in there as well. But then we also know that the Midnight entity is in the room with the Doctor, Belinda,
Yeah.
Shire, and Mo when we have that little section where Belinda obviously gets shot. And I mean, like I said, there's a lot of theories going around about this, whether the Midnight entity just tricked them and wasn't in that room at all, and that was all pointless. And that's a very bleak and depressing ending, and I do quite like it, to be honest. I like the idea that maybe it was never on anyone's back out of those four, and it was all just
Oh yeah.
pointless. That I quite like that idea. But I have a theory that obviously the entity, it learns from people, it learns from playing with people, it learns from their memories, it learns from getting inside their head. We know that because of Midnight. It gets inside people's heads, it learns how to play with them. And obviously we have that moment where Shooty is sort of crouched down in front of Alice, talking to the entity being over her shoulder. And I felt that something happened in that moment, like some sort of there's a moment where as well where this wasn't in my original theory, but I've just rewatched the episode, and there's a moment where he says something like, "There we go, there we have it," and he says it very much in the intonation of Sky from
Yeah,
Midnight.
I was wondering if he was possessed at that point.
I thought, is this is that there's something going on there. And obviously, then it leads into he's figured it out. He's figured out how to defeat the creature. But what if, for a split second, the entity got in the doctor's head and discovered the concept of a life form
Mm,
splitting into two? Because
yeah.
obviously, that's what happened to the doctor with bigeneration. What if the idea of that came from the doctor?
And we know that it did get into his head because it knows his name. He says
Yeah.
knows
So
you know my
yeah,
name
and we don't know if it knows that from now or from
from last
from the
time.
10th
Yeah.
Doctor. We
Mm,
don't know, but we know that it can take information from a head. We know that it can see memories. We know that it can do that. So maybe the bigeneration inspired the creature
yep.
and taught it to split into two
And
entities. So
when the
maybe
Doctor did
they're gone.
split into two entities, that was done with a laser beam thing that was powered by the same
Yes,
radiation, the
a
galvanic radiation
galvanic energy. Yes.
that
So the
was is on this
galvanic
planet.
beam caused the bigeneration, and the galvanic radiation is all over the Midnight Planet. So that's a coincidence, and we know that there's a lot to do with coincidences in this era. So my theory is the creature learns then to split itself in two. So the creature is both in the airlock with Alice, maybe, or
Mm.
whoever, and on one of the four in that room, and it split itself in two. And then that means that half of the creature, at the very least, survives at the end. So I then have this idea that maybe it hops from ship to ship until, learning more, learning more, learning more, but maybe also at the same time, every time it divides, maybe losing things, because obviously the one plot hole in this is that wouldn't the entity remember the Doctor?
Yes.
That's a plot hole. But maybe it loses, maybe, so much time has passed, maybe because it splits itself into two, each half takes elements, or maybe it dilutes itself in a way.
Mm.
And maybe it's gone on and split itself into so many different versions of itself that it's spread. But these younglings that are left over, these split entities, sort of have to learn things over and over again. But I have a theory that the not things maybe aren't the same entity. Maybe it's, like I said, a diluted, split off version of it. But I think it derives itself from the Midnight entity in some way. And then you have a lovely concept of a bootstrap paradox, because
Yeah.
the encounter with the not things is what causes the 14th Doctor to play with the salt up the
Which
edge
then
of the
lets the
universe,
Toymaker out, which
which
then causes
invokes
its
it,
by generation,
causes the bigeneration. And obviously
and that's where
there's
it learns
also
it.
the idea that, yeah, and there's the idea as well that the bigeneration itself, the concept of it was a fairy tale
Mm.
and was brought to life by invoking the salt. It's the only way that the bigeneration could happen, is a fairy tale has come to life. So then you've got a bootstrap paradox where the Doctor causes the bigeneration inspires the not things to split into two. The not things then cause the Doctor to cause the bigeneration. It goes
Yeah,
round and
yeah,
round in
yeah.
a
Bootstrap
circle.
goes round in the circle.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
paradox. Yeah, yeah. Interesting theory.
it's what I love about the Well, which didn't quite land for me with 73 yards, where it's this wide open ending, these areas that are open for interpretation, that mean whether we can play with the fan theories and play with what's going on.
Hmm.
And I think it's really successful with that. I mean, there's another theory going around, which I don't know if you're aware of, Phil.
What's that?
Alice was dead all
Oh, I
along.
have heard that one. Yeah, yeah.
A great
Dead all
theory.
along.
It's a
Yeah.
great, great theory. Like, because you've got them going into, as they go into the building, they very specifically say before they go in they're registering no life signs, and they're in the building and it's still registering no life signs.
And then it
And
suddenly
then
picks
as they
one up.
get close, then
Yeah.
it picks one up. So I
And
felt
that,
like
I think
oh,
that
maybe it's reanimating her
that one
and
kind of
possessing
slightly
her.
addresses the I've seen some criticism that the entity doesn't act the same way and doesn't have the same sort of powers as it had in
Mm,
Midnight. And to me, that wasn't a massive problem because it's 400,000 years later. She might
yeah,
have learned some new skills, might have developed some new powers, whatever. But this does kind of that theory does kind of neatly sidestep that because it is still possessing in the same way. It's just got
mm,
some additional tricks on top, but it is also still possessing in that same way it did in the original one.
yeah.
So,
And I think when you rewatch with that idea in your head of because there's always an element of distrust about Alice, but I feel like the episode sort of drifts away from that a little bit
mm,
without you thinking about it. So as soon as you go back and rewatch it and you keep in your mind, Alice could be possessed the entire episode.
yeah.
Alice could have died 15 days
Yeah.
ago with the rest of them.
Yeah,
And
because if
obviously you've
she's
got
been sat
the
there for 15 days as well, what you
that's
know,
the thing.
has she not moved? Has she not eaten or drunk
Yeah, I
anything
mean,
for 15 days?
who was it? I think it was James Johnson, who obviously does amazing like Dalek renders and things like that. Posted this sort of list of things that that sort of help. Um, you've got the fact that she often loops her dialogue, which is obviously the repetition of
Yes.
dialogue is something that comes
Interesting.
from Midnight. You've got that she's basically the perfect trap. She is literally the most vulnerable person on the ship, sat in the middle of a room,
Mm,
just ready to invite people in. She's been sat there for 15 days, but she's not moved the bodies. She's not
yeah.
like covered them up. How has she been eating? What's she been doing for 15 days? She's been sat in a room with decomposing corpses for 15 days, and she's just been sat on a box. It just doesn't. I don't know. It feels really strange. And
Yeah.
then you've got the fact she's wearing a different helmet at the end, which is grey, like a grey helmet. She's
Okay.
and she's smiling at the doctor. That's the last thing we see of her as she goes into the airlock. And when you watch it with the idea of
Yeah,
that's
that
the
could be a
midnight
menacing
entity,
smile. I mean, I watched
it's
it and the kind
so
of like
creepy.
when I watched it, it was a kind of I took it as a thank you, doctor kind of smile. Thank you for
Yeah,
saving me. Thank you for getting me back to my daughter. But yeah, that's so much more menacing. If I'm now also
yeah,
really scared for her daughter because
yeah.
if they take her back,
Yeah. Ugh, so
oh,
creepy. I mean, I want
yeah,
to give credit as well, like I said there, to James Johnson. I think William Price as well also came up with an element of that I sort of helped to. I was responding to him, and it was fantastic. It was a really, really good theory. And
yeah.
also, my original theory about the trilogy was inspired by Jamie at Madman Not a Box, I believe is, or Madman in a Box, I think his Twitter name is. He tweeted about the fact that there's some reused symbols from Wild Blue Yonder and The Well, which obviously
Right.
is probably just the set designers
Yeah.
reusing some stuff. But I think that's where we always get fun fan theories is when things are being reused. You know,
Yeah, I
then
think
you can link
brilliant
things together, can't you?
couple of brilliant fan theories there. I like your one. I like the one though she said it let if you've got any more, let us know in the comments below.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on and going through that with me.
Oh,
Um,
thank you for having me. Thank you
that's all right.
for endorsing the ramblings of an absolute madman.
And if you want
Um,
more ramblings of a
yes,
madman, then I believe you're just about literally now. You've got to go and record your podcast
in about a minute and a
in a
half,
minute and a
I
half
am.
time.
Yeah, I'm still well. It'll be in the next half an hour or so, I think. But yeah, I'm recording my reaction episode to the well with Miles and Ben from Knowing Who,
Ah, amazing.
and I'll have new episodes out every week throughout series two,
When should people
where we're
expect
covering
that?
every episode.
When's that episode going to come
Uh,
out?
that episode's probably going to be out sometime in the middle of the week. I haven't got a strict schedule. You'll learn that with if you come over and start listening to Who Knew that schedules aren't really my thing. It's out when it's out,
It's
but
out
it'll
sometime
be
this
this
week.
week. It'll be out before Lucky Day comes out. I can
Yes.
guarantee you that. So, but
Oh,
yes, if you like that and you like interviews with wonderful people in and around the world of Doctor Who, then please come on over to Who Knew. I'd love to have you over
Cool.
there.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil.
Let me know your own theories in the comments down below, and of course check out Who Knew, the Doctor Who podcast, which I will leave a link to the YouTube version of one of their episodes on the end screen now.